and welcome back to episode 67 of the MotoGP 21 Career Mode. In today's finale of season 4, almost at 5, not there yet. We have Sepang first and then we'll have Valencia. So without further ado, let's jump on over to qualifying in Malaysia. So we start the lap with 5 seconds remaining. Currently, the two men, first and second in the championship, are 1-2 in qualifying. We haven't set a lap yet, so our goal is to be on pole and see basically can we beat Pecco and get second place back, and hopefully Fabio has a poor round, you could say, and drops back a small bit, and hopefully he does not finish on the podium. We need a serious amount of points back from him. I think the gap at the moment is 22 or 21 points, which is almost a race win. We come through sector 1 and we are setting personal best, and we were just about a tenth over from memory. We get a pretty decent overall lap here. The pace around this track is actually pretty high. I expected this place to be pretty strong for me, and it was actually a struggle to get pole, and usually pole position is a pretty easy task. It's the races where they are a little bit quicker than us, but today seems like they have the bike nailed down in qualifying. We are under by less than half a tenth in sector 2, halfway around the lap, and we are on for pole position, coming down into this lovely downhill, really tricky turn 9. It's just such a brilliant corner. It's so hard to get it right, but when you do, it feels good. And flying through now, coming up now almost at the halfway through sector 3. We should be pretty strong in sector 4. That's all weekend. I look to be strong in that sector, so if we're up coming into the final sector, I do believe I can take pole, but the split is almost there on us. And we are under just over half a tenth this time, and we nailed turn 14, picking the bike up, dab of rear brake just to keep the front wheel down, and we are on our way to the final corner for the penultimate qualifying session of the season, braking just there as the white line merges. And into the final corner, we just hit a late apex. We get a pretty good corner. That's pretty good for that corner. And up to the line we've come. It's going to be pole position, 3/10 in the end. We made a brilliant last sector. Now let's jump over to the race. So it's recommended hard, and usually I don't go with it, but everyone else seems to have gone with at least a hard front. Fabio gone with a medium front, and Pecco gone with a medium rear. So two of them have gone slightly off the beaten path with the recommended. I just went with the recommended, and I'm going to deal with it. I did a few laps on the medium in practice, didn't feel great. Tyre wear was high. I slightly worried about tyre wear on the hards, because usually they just get cold tears and they spin, but this place is usually red hot and high humidity, so we should be okay. But anyway, here we are on the grid, 5 red lights for the penultimate round of season 4, and we are away, and the Ducati next to us of Pecco gets a brilliant start. We're going to have to be incredibly brave into turn 1. Miller on the outside, so he has to roll off a touch. We brake so much later, we turn across, and we run at a touch deep, and that allows Pecco just to get back across us, and we have a look into 2, but we're just not close. And we see yellow flag, but unfortunately it's not Pecco or Fabio Quartararo. The only thing is Quartararo has dropped back to 4th. Miller has done us a good job. Possible teammates next year, us and Miller, and he is doing us a favour in the championship. Now I'm going to try my best just to shadow Pecco for the next 3 to 4 laps, just get the temperature into some tyres and see what we can do later in the race. I don't really want to be battling with him, because I want to kind of pull a gap on Fabio and see can we make a mistake out of either of them, and see what we can do for the championship. I kind of need, well, I believe with 2 races to go, I think the points difference to Pecco is only 1, so that is doable, but I need Fabio to make a big mistake or possibly to crash to win this championship. So it's going to be uphill task, but we're giving it everything here. And the opening lap here, Pecco's pace seems pretty good. It looks like he's kind of got his tyres up to temperature a little bit quicker than I did. The Ducati kind of starts up a bit faster than we have. But through here you can see he takes a much more odd line, really is what I would call it. But unfortunately here we turn in, we got our first track limits of the race. We're going to keep an eye on that here. This is a long enough track, and nearly a 2-minute lap and 7 laps, so we have a good decent length race here, but we're pretty strong in this final section. You can see we're pretty much on his back wheel. I'm going to save the fuel, just sit in his slipstream. I don't really want to go for pass, I just want to shadow him for a few laps and see how he manages his pace and how he's strong and where best to make an overtake. And into the final corner, he blows it pretty wide, so that'll be one place I'll be looking to make a move if I get the opportunity. We are pretty close to him again, only a tenth and a half behind him. He goes slightly defensive into one. We break pretty well. We're making up a lot of time. We made the apex again. That Ducati makes a view out of it. We try actually turn underneath him, but he just comes back. Then we think about trying to cut underneath him, but that Ducati just gets out of the corner better than we did. So we just sit in again. We just sit there. Miller's 6 tenths behind, so we don't need to worry about an immediate attack from behind. And it looks, judging by the tower, that Fabio is dropping back a touch towards Nakagami. Now, I can't tell how close Nakagami is to Quartararo, but it looks like he is dropping back from Miller a touch, so that is good for us. If we could win and he's in P4, that is about 10 points. I think 10 or 12 points the gap we would take out of him. So we fast forward here now to the end of lap 2. Once again, into the last sector, we are strong, but Pecco has a bit of a bigger gap this time around. We get a big stoppie though. There's a bit of a kicker there, a small bump on the entry. But you can see that is Pecco's line. Take a really early apex, run it wide, and come back. So unfortunately, I just keep making a mistake in that corner, so we're going to have to use that to our advantage. Again, we just sit in the slipstream, 58.0 compared to a 57.998, so we're nearly on exact pace as Bagnaia, who again runs it wide. Again, we take the usual Suzuki line through the corner, but unfortunately, once again into turn 2, he blocks us and gets the better exit and holds position. The gap is almost up to a second out to Miller, so we are motoring here. Our pace seems better than the rest. Fabio still looks to be a bit back. We have a lunge this time up the inside. We just run it deep. We have to sit up and we run off track. Thankfully, we didn't get a limit warning there. And Pecco jumps back into lead. I look over my shoulder and make a small mistake here on entry, but you can take a really late apex and catch back up a bit there. So, small mistake, but I managed to recover nicely. So, Miller now has taken half a second out of us over that mistake. And we have about half a second to Pecco in front. So, we need now to have a clean rested lap and make sure lap 4 is a good lap overall, just to neutralise Miller behind and just pull in on Pecco ever so slightly. Again, in here we make up so much time in the brakes. We do run it a touch wide, but we take a good chunk of time out of him. Now here we are at the end of lap 3. Pecco again just 3 or 4 tenths up the road, and we set a slightly slower lap time that time around, but our pace is still strong enough. The hard tyres are wearing quite fast, but the performance still seems strong. And again, he goes wide, but we just, unfortunately, we're not close enough to try anything. This time I try a bit more of a shallow line into 2. Again, as I try and square off, his bike is just in my way and I have nowhere to go. Fabio, update, he still sits in 4th position, so he's sitting on 13 points, I think it is. So if I could win, that would be a 12-point gain. So maybe it's 12 points actually for 4th. I'm thinking of the F1 point system. But anyway, we're going to take a good chunk of time and points out from for the finale if we can beat Pecco. And if we beat Pecco, we'll go in 2nd position, so we would be going in prime position to take the championship. Now, if it did come back to count back, I actually don't know who will win it. I don't know who's won more races. I couldn't tell you who's won more races, but it would be interesting to see if again who's done better over the whole season. But into turn 9 this time round, and we were getting very close to the back of Pecco that time, but we actually made our apex. He just broke a bit earlier. We were pushing that front a little bit hard, but we were on a pretty good lap, almost 3 tenths under our own time, which would give us the fastest lap quite comfortably. Again, we go to the right here, and then we just take so much more corner speed. He touches the curb, and into 12 we have gained right onto the back of him. And we go for a nice wide line back to first gear, and then we bring in for a lovely late apex, picking up, squaring off, and we are just on his back wheel. Get a small wheelie. Once again, just going to sit on his back wheel. We have a quick look back just to double check where Jack Miller is. But again, he goes defensive, we go to the outside. Managed to get across the bump a bit better that time, but again, we just get close to his back wheel. He brakes slightly earlier than us, and then we touch the curb, and unfortunately our fastest lap goes out the window. And up the line again, sitting in his slipstream. Another pretty good gap ahead of us now to him, so we're going to have to try and keep him pretty much where he is. It looks like as we're getting later into this race, as we have a look again in turn 1, but once again he's back there, and we're going to try it once again. And once again his Ducati just sits in the way, and there's a crash further back, and it was a blue icon I saw, and unfortunately it was John Mir on the Suzuki, not Fabio. So up to turn 5 we come, and again he just goes a touch defensive, just make sure he doesn't want us to pass, and we look like we have the pace over him if we can get ahead of him. Again, we're on a personal best lap time this time around, so it is going to be difficult to make a move stick. We've already tried one and nearly run off the track trying to get it stopped, so it's not going to be an easy one to make an overtake here. But I think my tyres are in a better condition at the moment than his. I've been able to follow him for the whole race. I've been able to kind of just manage everything, and I have a serious amount of fuel left over if I need to burn it, which I probably will in the later laps. So we absolutely nailed turn 9 there, absolutely lovely. We are still just half a second. Miller is bang on a second behind us, and there's a gap on the timing screen again to Fabio. So Fabio looks like he's having a comfortable race in P4. Now it's Rins, the other Suzuki, behind. If he could get ahead of him, it would be brilliant for our chances at winning the championship. Good also for the constructors too. But once again, into the penultimate corner, and we are right on the back wheel of Pecco. And once again, just sitting in the slipstream. We have no need to make the pass yet. We're going to hopefully do it in the penultimate laps. So we're about to start, and this time we make a bit of a mistake under braking. That is the issue, and we take the lead for a split second on the timing screen, but we actually don't. And we get a great exit though. We managed to square it off, a bit like his line actually. Up to the line we come, and it is the fastest lap of the race, 57.8. We just go about a tenth quicker than Pecco, but he's on the inside. We brake quite late, but he brakes later. But he runs it wide, and we brake a bit better, and we touch inside, and we actually pick the bike up just to kind of hold him off. But again, and then on the entry to 2, he just was there, and he's again managed to hold us off, but we managed to squeeze underneath him. A bit of a crazy couple of corners there, because we didn't know if we'd get him. But then as we come out of turn 3, a red Ducati just plows up the inside of us, and he just squeezes us to the outside into turn 4. We cut back, take a lovely late apex, textbook. But unfortunately, the grunt Ducati puts him back into contention. We've been side by side since corner 1 of this lap, so that has really brought Miller back into this. But we have a go then up into turn 6, and we touch once again. That's the third time we've connected on this lap. Then I leave him have it, because through here it is really one line, and I didn't want to be forcing him out or him squeezing me again. So we've tried and tried and tried to make the move stick. We're not easily going to get past him, but again into 9 we're pretty perfect through there. But the gap is growing to 0.6. He's looked like he's got the hammer down now that I've shown pace to pass him, but we also have that ridiculous amount of fuel on board that we can burn off on the penultimate straights. But in here again, he takes a lot of curve front wobbles. We actually do the same, but we take so much more corner speed, and we close now to the final corner of the penultimate lap. We are just a bit further away than I want. You can see now I'm in power 3, using up the extra fuel, and we are catching on the straight. And into turn 1 we seem to match each other in braking. I'm a bit stronger, but I run it a bit deeper than I would want to. And then we can't make a move again in turn 2. So this is the final lap. We're going to have to do it and make it stick in this lap. And the rear tyre is just a bit cold, so we're going to have to keep an eye on that. Try and get a bit of temperature in the first half of the lap if we're going to get a move. We don't get a good enough drive out of turn 3 to line him up for 4, so it is defensive the whole way from Pecco. Now again, he stays all the way to the left of the track. We come to the right, opening up turn 5. And again, you can see our corner speed is superior, but again, you can't go anywhere when there's a blockade of a Ducati in front of you. He's just a touch wide there. We pick up the throttle a bit earlier that time. We were thinking about throwing it down into 7, but that is not a corner you really want to be making past. But we're close now. And in my head, turn 9 was the opportunity I wanted. But again, look at the Ducati just leaping out of the corner. He goes defensive. We brake late. We actually jinked to the inside, but there's just nowhere to go. So unfortunately, 2 of the good positions, turn 1 and turn 9, are the best places for me in the early half of the lap to overtake. But we cut now to the final sector of the Sepang Grand Prix. Penultimate corner. I'm actually wide for the first time. I'm pushing a bit too hard into power 3. We have so much fuel we can just burn it all the way to the last corner. Take a smaller slipstream. He goes across to cover the inside. We go to the outside, making sure we break the markets. He moves across us. We go to the inside. He's actually pretty much nailed the corner, but this time he still just runs a while. We pick up, and with the power 3 we get a great exit, and we finally get the move done, and that is victory and the fastest lap of the race on the final run. Pecco second, Jack third, and Fabio Quartararo coming home in P4. So a pretty decent race result considering my championship challenge. So what does that do to the championship, I hear you ask? It will put me still in P2 or back to P2. 9 points is the gap. 14 to Pecco from Quartararo. So we have 9 points to make up in the final race in Valencia. So we're going to need him basically not to be on the... If we win and he comes third, we'll go and be level, which would be pretty crazy. P5 in the constructor and the teams, we're not really going to lose or gain any positions in that. And 11 points in the team, or the constructor, sorry, and that should be the championship for us if we have a decent round in the finale. So, podium here, everything was going rosy, and you'll see in a second, we're about to get some terrible, terrible fortunes with this game. So, we're still here, we're celebrating on a podium, everything seems rosy, nobody knows what's about to come upon us. And in a second, when we get back to the menu, you'll notice we're after getting a bit of a game-breaking glitch. And unfortunately for me, I cannot go to Valencia. The game has not given us the option. You see now, I'm just getting to do caddy contracts, so I've signed that. We're off to the caddy for next year. It is done. The signature's on the page. But you'll see here now, advance next week. It advances to the final, to the end of the season. There isn't a Valencia. You can see 0 position. And unfortunately, if you try and click on it, it crashes the game. So we have lost the championship on a technicality glitch, and we have to start the new season. So I am devastated to not have the opportunity to take on Fabio in Valencia for the victory and the championship. But that makes Fabio 2-time world champion. We come home second in the championship. Not too bad if you think about it compared to what the bike was at the start of the season. But heartbreak for Suzuki. As I was leaving, I wanted to take the Riders' Championship at least and bring them a Riders' Championship before I left, but unfortunately it wasn't to be. We did win the Constructors, which is a bonus, but unfortunately that is it for today's episode and season 4. So I will have pre-season up in the coming days, but I am devastated to lose the championship in that fashion. Out of my hands. I look back at Buriram where I was in P3, P4 and I crashed. That was the championship there, lost, and I did not know it at the time. Anyway, thank you all for watching and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye.